Hello everybody, this is Dan Murphy from Blue and Gold Illustrated. With me is our senior editor, Lou Samoji. We're standing outside the Morris Inn here where a few minutes ago we met with Athletic Director Jack Swarbrick and University President John Jenkins about the academic investigation currently going on at Notre Dame. 4 Notre Dame football players have been confirmed as being currently held out of football activities. That's DeVaris Daniels, senior Ishak Williams, junior Kavari Russell, and 5th-year senior Kendall Moore. Those 4 players are the 4 we reported earlier today that missed practice we understand it's in the academic investigation where there's been some homework and possible papers handed in that have been done by other students. We didn't get a whole lot more information from Swarbrick and Jenkins today because of the investigation. It's still ongoing. They didn't want to share too much. But Lou, what's the biggest takeaway you took from the things we just learned inside today?
I think one of the most important that was emphasized, they have not been expelled. They are still part of the university. They are, as long as this investigation is going on, they're still on like the meal plans and able to go to training table and other things. They just cannot practice while this investigation is pending. So I think that's the focal point. I think it kind of came across in many ways today like they're done.
It was reported they were dismissed, but that's not the case.
Yeah, I think that's the most important takeaway from this to begin with.
Right. Those 4 players were singled out. That doesn't seem to be the entirety of the list that might be involved. Again, Swarbrick and Jenkins didn't want to comment on how far back this investigation might go or how many players might be involved, but we've learned with Blue and Gold Illustrated there might be up to as many as 22 current and former players involved in the investigation and some of the allegations of handing in work that wasn't their own. We will probably learn more as the day goes on. Lou, from a historical perspective, you know, Notre Dame's obviously had some academic problems in the past year or two, but how big of a deal is this? Where does this fit into? Put us in context for us.
Well, it's been a bad year academically. I mean, you go back with Everett Golson, you go back with DeVaris' suspension, but that wasn't a cheating. That was just poor grades. So that didn't involve any of that. You had Jaron Grant for the basketball team, the leading scorer, hockey player.
Robbie Rousseau, right?
One of the top defensemen on the team. So there's been a bit of a pattern, but I think one of the things, again, they emphasize, you have close to 800 student athletes here in various sports, and obviously football is going to get about 98% of it. Eric Parsegian always liked to say that 2% of the team causes 98% of the problems, and the football team is always going to have so much more coverage and so much more attention all around that when something like this occurs, and whether it's academics or disciplinary matters, this is going to take off. This is an annual thing, though. I mean, name me a year, any year. I don't want to bore people with all that. I've been following this since about 1971. There isn't a preseason that doesn't have some controversy, attrition. Some are worse than others. This would fall into that category of being a little bit worse because it involves what is at the heart of the university, which is integrity.
Yeah. Despite what seems to be a little bit of a pattern of academic problems coming out with the football team, both the administrators today were very adamant in saying that Ryan Kelly's job is not in jeopardy, and they're very confident with the way he's handled everything so far. The football program found out about the incident on July 29th. The athletic department reported that right away to the academic side, which has sort of taken over the investigation at this point. Jenkins made a point to say this is not an athletic investigation, it's an academic investigation. So the sports side of it is kind of taking a back seat for the moment while they're looking into exactly how big the dishonesty might have gone back and how far it might have gone back.
And I know everybody wants answers. It's like, well, how long are they going to be gone? How long is the investigation going to take? There are no answers to this because their first priority, and they said this many times, is just thoroughness and accuracy in going back through the timeline and seeing what transpired to see if there was culpability on many fronts. And if it is, then dismissal might take place. If not, maybe it might be just game suspension. Who knows? Maybe it might be a half season where it takes. We don't have answers on any of this matters, and they're not going to give anything like that. There was an old Bear Bryant saying, I don't know, and I wouldn't tell you if I did. And I think that was pretty much the tone of the conference today.
Right. It does seem that something this serious probably would result in a little bit more than just a game suspension, just based on the way they've handled things so far at this point. Answers, as Lou said, hard to come by at this point. As they come, we'll definitely continue bringing them to you. Stay tuned to blueandgold.com for all future updates regarding this and the rest of the Notre Dame football season.